When I open up my newspaper this morning, I read about Erdogan of Turkey, the new Sultan. And when I look at the article, it says a monster victory for Erdogan. A half year ago, he lost the majority in the Turkish parliament, and now there were new elections, and now his AK party has the majority, which means he can rule almost like a dictator in Turkey, although it's going through democratic processes, elections, etc. Still, you feel the driving force behind it to come to a kind of absolute power position within Turkey, although the president today has only more of a symbolic role. The Prime Minister immediately said he should have much more power on the basis of the outcome of these elections. And it means that Turkey is now moving forward in a strong way, increasing its power base and its power position in the whole of the Middle East. The caliphate that unites all Muslim streams was connected to Turkey in the past. You had the Ottoman Empire, but that ended in the beginning of the last century, and since then Turkey was more like a Western democracy. But today, under the leadership of Erdogan, it becomes more and more Muslim, and many in Turkey regret that, because this Muslim influence increases, which has to do with the role of women, who are more subdued, the education system, the schools, the universities, etc. That are the developments right now. Now, as always, one wonders, is there something in the Bible that talks about all of this? Now that Israel is back in the Middle East since 1948, the independent Jewish state of Israel, with Jerusalem as its capital, I think we should learn always to look at the developments in the world from Israel, from Jerusalem, and try to get a biblical and a prophetic perspective on the whole situation. Now, is Turkey somehow mentioned in the Bible? Yes, it is. There is a famous chapter in the book of Ezekiel, in Ezekiel 38 and 39. Chapter 38 starts, "The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Prophesy against him and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out from with your whole army, your horses, your horsemen, fully armed, and a great horde with large and small shields, all of them brandishing their swords. Persia, Cush, and Put will be with them, all with shields and helmets. Also Gomer with all its troops, and Bet Togarma from the far north with all its troops, the many nations with you." And then suddenly from the north there is an attack on Israel in a combination of all kinds of nations that are mentioned with these ancient names. Now, I looked up what explanation can be given for these nations. Traditionally, the whole affair of Gog and Magog and the Prince of the North is pointed towards Russia. But also Persia, Iran is involved, Cush, which is Sudan or Ethiopian, maybe Eritrea, Gomer, and there many identify Gomer with Turkey. So there is a kind of ring around Israel that suddenly will attack from the north, under the leadership of a leader from the north. Again, traditionally, the expositors explain that it's referring to Russia in the leadership role of this coalition that suddenly will attack Israel. But not too long ago, a Belgian brother wrote me something, and I think that's highly interesting as well. He said, I'm not sure that this Gog and Magog is referring to Russia as the leader of the coalition that suddenly will attack Israel. I think there are many reasons to believe that this will be Turkey. He explains how Erdogan is coming with his family originally from Georgia, the Russian Republic, and from the Caucasus. And he says when you study these ancient texts and their meaning, you could read the verses that I just read as Gog, meaning leader or chief, coming from the land of Magog, coming from Georgia, Georgia, in the Caucasus region. You who are a prince, a chief of Meshech. He said Meshech is southern Georgia, so southern Georgia in Russia, and Tubal. And he locates Tubal in the northern provinces of Turkey. So he says, and one day in 2004, Erdogan boasted that when he visited Georgia, he said, I'm also a Georgian. My family comes from Georgia and moved from there to Turkey. So if you read it in that light, you could even translate or explain it like this. I, Gog, chief of Turkey, I am from Georgia, from the land of Magog, and I have a special relationship with the areas from where my family originated and moved to the northern parts of Turkey. So I think when you look at the developments in Turkey in that light, you might as well study Ezekiel 38 and 39 again. The motivations for Erdogan are very clear. The re-establishment of the caliphate. Today you hear a lot about Islamic State promoting the caliphate, but the true caliphate, Erdogan thinks, is what once was the Ottoman Empire. And they're not just Sunnites or just Shiites, but all the Muslim streams combined under the leadership of Turkey. And then that means when the true caliphate will be established, there is no room for Israel. There's no room for Jerusalem being the capital of Israel. Then Jerusalem, the third holy city of Islam, with the two mosques on the place where once the temple was built, must come under Allah, must be part of this revival of the caliphate in the Middle East. I think what we as Christians should do, reading, hearing about these developments, when we put our newspapers on the side of our Bibles, we should pray. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Be watchmen on the walls of Jerusalem and pray to God that He will be like a protective wall around Israel, around Jerusalem, and around the Jewish people.